Hello everybody, it's Bailey, and today I started my portable Raspberry Pi project. And I ordered some pieces off Amazon, and they arrived today, so I'd like to show you what I have so far, and just talk about what I'm going to do, and what I'm still waiting on. So the first thing that I ordered, of course, was my Raspberry Pi, and I got a Raspberry Pi Model B+, and it has a gig of RAM and like a 500 megahertz processor, so it's not super fast, but for what we're doing, small Java games, it should be perfect. And that has its own SD card inside that it uses to run a dedicated operating system, so I don't want the user to need to take out that SD card whenever they want to change the game that they're playing. So I bought this USB to SD card adapter. So what you do is you just put the SD card in, and then the USB port will register it. So what this is going to do is this is going to plug into the Raspberry Pi and then come out the bottom of the case, so then the user should just be able to put these SD cards in and take them out from the bottom of the case and play games, kind of like a DS or a GameCube, something of that nature. So the next thing that I need for the Raspberry Pi is some way to get the video out. So I was going to use component video out, which is kind of an old technology. I don't need HD, which component video doesn't support, because I'm not looking to get a screen that has a really high resolution. I have this old 7-inch screen that has a resolution of like 700 by 480, so it's a very low resolution, but I cannot get my Raspberry Pi to post to this screen, so I think I'll keep the case that the screen came in, and I have ordered an HDMI screen. The problem with that is HDMI cables are usually really thick, and they don't usually compress too well. So I looked up the best thing to solve that problem, and a tiny HDMI cable was recommended. So this is like a 2-foot cable, which is still relatively big, but the key part of this is that the HDMI plugs themselves are pretty small, so I should be able to plug that into Raspberry Pi and then hide the wires in the case very easily. One other thing that I really wanted was to use these GPIO headers to simulate a keyboard. However, I found out that I wouldn't be able to do that with the Raspberry Pi really, just because, well, I don't really understand the libraries that are needed, and there's an easier way to do it. The Raspberry Pi comes with 4 of those USB headers, so what I can do is I can use a microcontroller like this Arduino Mini, and what I can do is I can plug a USB header into there, and then plug that into one of the USB ports on the Raspberry Pi, and then I can use this tiny little Arduino as a keyboard, and hopefully that should work pretty well. So that is everything that I ordered so far. I can show you, I started power regulation as well. I have an old GameCube start button, and I have a battery plug for power in, so if I want to use batteries eventually, I can do that. And I have 2 of these power regulator boards on there. The first one up here is set to regulate the input voltage, which I think will be 14 volts to 12 volts to power the HDMI screen. I looked up the input voltage of the screen, and the input voltage was 12 volts, so I have a regulator for that. And the Raspberry Pi itself runs at 5 volts, so that's what this second little regulator is for. So when I press the button, it should power both the screen and the Raspberry Pi. So yeah, that's all I've ordered so far, and when all the pieces get in and I start fitting them together, I will check back in then. So my screen should have come today, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is. Just thought I'd open it on camera. So we got digital multimeter, which I am excited about, and This should be the 7-inch screen. And there we go. Tiny little HDMI screen. Sweet. So as you can see over here, I got my little SD card reader and the power board and button that I had last time, and I got a ruler. And I'm currently in the process of drawing everything into Photoshop. So yeah, I'm drawing all the parts at a 1:1 scale, so hopefully I can get a better idea of how everything will fit together. So as you can see, I have all of the buttons numbered, and I have all my pieces drawn in. This is all I have for now, and this is something like what the final version is going to look like. I can even bring the buttons up. So it'll look something like this when it's done. As you can see, there's like some conflicts with the screen size and the button layout, but well, that will be fixed in the final version. And this also isn't the final design for the case. This is just the best I have for right now. So yeah, I'm going to now go start working on soldering everything together. Okay, so I got a power supply over there, which is connected up here to the Raspberry Pi, I guess my own custom power supply, directly to the switch. So when I flick the switch right over here, everything will turn on. And I have two power regulator boards, one for 12 volts, one for 5. 12 volts goes into this power regulator board for the screen, and then to the screen, and it's getting data from this really thin HDMI cable, which is connected up to the Raspberry Pi. That is the power in from the Raspberry Pi, or for the Raspberry Pi from the 5 volts. And there's the SD card over there. So when I flick the switch, you can see the little lights start blinking on the Raspberry Pi, and the screen boots up. So that's that. Yeah, it boots into the Raspbian like debug screen. Yeah, the start screen.